sports are really important vehicles for relationships.
We have purpose. We have a why. We bring people together. We connect.
I feel like God is our greatest supporter and our greatest coach.
Welcome to Rabbi on the Sidelines. This is Rabbi Sherman from Sinai Temple in Los Angeles, where we speak about the intersection of sports and faith. This week, we are joined by an Oscar-nominated producer of the short animated film Butterfly. This is a story that I had never heard before, but is a story that needs to be told. We are coming to you today as Purim. It's the Jewish holiday where we celebrate the idea of Jewish identity, of proud Jewish identity, of not assimilating, but rather bringing the joy of the Jewish people to the world. And so we are honored all the way from France to be joined by Ron Dyens, who is the producer, Oscar-nominated, of Butterfly. Ron, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so actually, one of my first guests was Lenny Krazelberg, who is a U.S. Olympian who was born in Russia, who has a strong Jewish identity in swimming. I've also had an amazing Olympic swimmer, Yoav Bruck, one of the Israeli Olympians, who swam at Auburn University and is a true hero of the Jewish people and of Israel. But this Olympian I had never heard of, and specifically in the 1936 Berlin Olympics, where to be a Jew in that Olympics was a miracle within itself. So maybe you can share with us, who is Alfred Nakache and why should we know about him today?
In fact, as you know, you can be famous at some time and then disappear on the radar and then appear again. And concerning Alfred Nakache, he was really known after the Second World War because his story is such a resilient story, and it's connected also with his friends, a question of friendship between all the swimmers, because he was not swimming alone. And what happened to his life, it is told on the short film. But after, this type of story were not as important as today. And Nakache rejoined the Hall of Fame of the sportsmen. And what is happening now give a new focus on his story. Probably it will be better that you summarize the story with your perfect English.
So I want to talk about, you just said that he was never swimming alone. So I'll give you a little summary that Alfred Nakache, born in France, but really a swimmer of North African heroism. And he got to the Olympics in 1936. And only after that does he actually end up going to Auschwitz, where he loses his wife and his daughter. And then he goes back, I believe, into the London Olympics after being a Holocaust survivor, not just seeing the war from the outside, but literally going through Auschwitz. And he is able to compete again.
In
1948 is one thing. In 1948, which we, of course,
so
know
12 years after.
And not only that, which is the creation of the state of Israel. And so here Hitler wanted to annihilate all the Jews, and this man swims again in the Olympics, where the creation of the state of Israel. And so you said something that he didn't swim alone, and that phrase is used twice in this short film. What does that mean? He didn't swim alone. Who was he with?
He was part of a team. There were 4 swimmers, and he was doing the butterfly stroke, right?
Yep.
And he knew these people from Toulouse Association of Swimmers, and before the Second World War, I mean before 1939, they were always with him, even if they were not Jewish, and they helped him. And while he was captured in the concentration camp in Auschwitz, and he lost, as you said, his wife and daughter, he lost, I will not say tons of kilograms, but like a lot of kilograms. And
Great.
yes, and he was totally so thin. And his friend came back to him and helped him to recover slowly. And then after, he was again part of the French team of 4-time, when you are 4 swimmers. And then he made the Olympic Games again, 12 years after the Berlin and Nazi Olympic Games. So it shows how resilient it's important, and how cooperation is important, and friendship too. And we know that this is really important today also. There is the world is going crazy in some parts, and it's really important to have your family, to have your friend, to trust them, because they are the closest people that can count on them. You see, and they never disappeared.
And so there's a part of the film where basically he wins a race and then he tries to shake hands with the person that he just beat, and that's
Yes,
the moment that he
yes,
realizes that this is not going so well. Um,
no,
in such a short film where it's not 3 hours but 15
no,
minutes, how do you
right.
decide what to put in this unbelievable story in 15 minutes?
Ah, did you realize that you're often more easily bored when you see a short film instead of watching a feature film? It's really strange impression, but when you watch a short film, it's like if each sequence has to be important.
Uh-huh.
Even if it's like a just one sequence of like a sunset or something like that, it needs to have its own duration. It needs to fit perfectly with the other elements of the story. And for feature film, it's in the brain, I don't know how, but you have the right to rest and not to be focused during 1.5 hour. And often you can't be focused during 1.5 hour because it's too long. But when you compete in a festival of short films, it's really important that each frame, almost each frame has to be important. So when you edit the movie, you need to respect the for me the editor is someone very important. It's like an author, like the director or the scriptwriter, because you can destroy a movie by adding
Mhm.
2 or 3 seconds here, to take out 2 or 3 seconds there. You destroy the rhythm of the movie. But here the full movie is completed like that. And you are like the swimmer, you are underwater
Mm.
on this story, because it's a part, first of all, it's a part of the history with a big H, and not a little part, as we know, but also it's a bit a mirror also of what is happening today, like the this development of hate between people. It's so terrible. So there is a new audience for this movie today, and I'm sad in a way that this movie also is mirroring
Mhm.
our time. It's
Yes.
really sad, and of course, I'm really afraid of what is happening, even in France, with the increasing of the what we call the Front National, Jean-Marie Le Pen, extreme right.
Mhm.
But in a lot of other countries, it's taking a very bad way.
And so you mentioned water. Obviously, it's about water, and there's sort of three different parts of the history of water through Alfred's life. One, him actually being afraid of water when he was young, who then becomes an Olympic swimmer. And even after he retires, after the 1948 Olympics, he meets the end of his life in water in 1983, having a heart attack, I believe,
Yes,
swimming between France
yes.
and Spain. And so I read somewhere, I believe it was the interview on Deadline, I believe, that water sort of never begins and never ends. So, what is the analogy of water? And you just mentioned before that even the editor feels like they're underwater. What's the
Mm.
analogy of water that we can take from this film?
Water is so important because when you swim in the water, when you walk in the water also, it's so good for your body, for your muscles. You can
Yep.
do a lot of things, and you can gain muscles in a very easy way, in very slowly way. But it feels good, and you can muscle your back also. But when you do the same exercises outside from water, it can be very hard.
Mm,
So water can be very cool for some things, but also it reflects also the danger. So you spoke about the some example of butterfly, but I'm also the producer of Flow. Maybe you saw Flow. You watched Flow the
Yep.
feature
And
animated that won
absolutely.
last year. And there is a lot of connection between the two movies because water is a main protagonist in both movies, and also there is a huge cooperation between the animals in flow and between the swimmers in Nakash movie. So water can be very dangerous. It can kill, but it can save also.
Hmm.
And the conclusion of the I like very much the conclusion of the movie because even if he dies at the end because he's really old and he has a heart attack, it's the way also to find back his wife and his daughter under the water. So water it's his own universe, and it helped him so much, but also he became famous, and then he became recognizable and known because he was a very good swimmer, and this is how also for his own destiny, his own fate, he was caught by the Nazi because
So
he
you
was
may
known because of the water also. You see,
right, and
so
you may
yes,
not know this, but actually in the fall, in our in our holiday season, we say a prayer for rain, and we say at the end of that prayer, "Livracha velo liklala." The water should be for a blessing and not a curse. And then we say
mm,
we say lechayim velo lamavet, that the water
mm,
should be for life and not for death. When I was
yeah,
watching this film, Butterfly evoked that prayer, which I never thought I would speak about in a sports podcast, but is exactly the life of
yeah.
Alfred, that it should be for
And
life and should be for blessing.
yes, and you know what happened with Moise and the Red Sea.
Yes, absolutely, and that was
Yes.
the
So,
splitting of the sea for sure
yeah,
with that
yes.
miracle.
So, yes.
Um, and so there's a very deep connection between the director Florence Mie and Alfred. In fact,
Yes.
she, I
Mm,
believe, knew or her father knew Alfred, and so
yes.
how did she
Yes.
decide at this time to share this story? Why now?
So the story is this: when she was very young, her father told her that he knew someone during the resistance in France, a very famous swimmer. It was Alfred Nakache because they knew each other during resistance time, and so she had this image of someone very important because her father told her that he was really proud to know someone very famous. So he spoke a lot about Alfred Nakache to her. And also, Florence learned how to swim butterfly stroke with a little brother, William Nakache. So one day, Alfred Nakache came because Florence is from the south of France, and Nakache family also. This Nakache family side part was from the south of France. So she learned how to swim with the little brother of Alfred Nakache. But of course, as she said, her father present her a very old man. So she didn't care because she was young. She
Yeah,
didn't know how famous he was, of course. But after the story little by little took a little place on her brain or her mind, and while she was working on a feature animated movie, The Crossing, a very beautiful movie about the movement of Jewish from Poland and
mm,
east of Europe trying to reach France. It was a very difficult moment for her because the money was not there enough, and suddenly it came back to her mind, and she decided to work more on the topic. So she made some researches, and she discovered the extraordinary life of Alfred.
and so I've never watched a short film like this in terms of the medium that's used in the animation, sort of, I would guess, abstract type of painting. Explain, I guess, that origin and what is the power of using this to tell the story as opposed to, documentary films of Alfred swimming in 1936 Berlin.
This technique is it's really interesting that this movie is nominated among the last five also because it's it's so difficult to use oil on glasses with brushes like she's doing that face to the easy way to use AI today, that
Yeah.
it's a kind of like a homage of painting of art before probably a big wave that will happen, that already happened, by the way. So yes, it's quite extraordinary that there is this recognition, both with the topic of the movie and the techniques. And if you ask my personal opinion, what is really important is first of all the story.
Hmm.
But when you have both, when you have a great story, a so deep story like that, and the use of this technique, it's quite unimaginable. And what is also great is that she, you know, she's using a camera on the top,
Oh yeah.
and she's painting on a glass.
Uh-huh.
She's making one picture, and then she erases the image, and she creates a new image. So
Wow.
you have a minimum of 12 images per second.
Oh
So
my
you
God.
imagine that you have 12 time 60 seconds for 1 minute
Yeah.
time
15.
15 minutes.
Wow.
So it's
And
thousands of images.
she did this in 1 year?
Around, yes. But she
That's
was not
unbelievable.
she was not alone, but she knows really well this technique. So, and you know, when you produce a director, mostly your job as a producer is not to propose him or to propose her a new technique. You have to adapt to find the money so that she or he will feel good with what he or she knows. Because if you ask someone to change totally the technique let's say she is used to use, then it can be very dangerous for the movie and for the brain of the director also.
And what is your personal journey towards this movie, towards Florence? Why did you decide to take on this project at this time?
In fact, Florence had another producer before, but she retired. And I know Florence since like 25 years.
Oh well.
Because before being a producer, only a producer, I was a producer, but also a director. I had some successes, but I consider that I found my path as being a producer and no more a director. And when the producer retired, Florence proposed me to produce her, and I was really happy because since I know her, I admire her work. And she proposed me the topic of the movie. I know, of course, that Florence is Jewish, and I'm a wrong Jewish because I'm Jewish from my father, who was Jewish from Tunisia.
Wow.
But you know, it's very strange feeling because I I feel what's I think what the Jewish explain sometimes. It's like to feel connected with I don't know what, to be honest, but to have this concern in my brain, um, that I have something to do,
Uh-huh.
that that uh, um, it's really difficult to explain in English. I'm sorry, but yes, it's like also if I see beyond the text, beyond the script, and I'm really connected with the audience because I'm the first audience as a producer. I'm the first audience, and I'm very exigent with the director. So I ask a lot of questions. Also, if the things are clear but not too clear for the audience, because the idea is not to make a very easily movie, but to make the audience think. But if the audience is lost, then everything is lost. So my work is always to be on this very thin rope
Uh-huh.
between what I was before, an artist, and uh, to understand the movie so that the audience will understand the movie. It's a very nice place, dangerous place, but I like it.
And then when you speak about the audience, you said, you want the audience to think, but at the same time, I think it's so deep that it's simple enough, for instance, to show my child in middle school and have the
Mm,
conversations about anti-Semitism and sports and
mm.
faith and forgiveness and resilience. So who is the audience after we win the Oscar?
The in France, the system of producing shorts is different from America and from a lot of countries. In France, there is money for producing shorts, and the statue of a short movie is mostly connected with adolescent adult audience, because on the TV it is shown during the night,
Interesting.
you see, and mostly the festivals all around the world, by the way, also in America, um, are more connected, also mostly connected with adolescent adult target. Um, so I do mostly movies connected with this target, but I also do some features and short connected with a younger audience. But there was a paper from a journalist that, in fact, has been caught by the story, because he liked each year to show the short films with his kids. And this time he wrote an article saying that he was not ready to speak about the Shoah with his kids,
Mm-hmm.
because they were young, but he discovers the movie with its kids. And then, of course, the kids ask a lot of questions. And, sometimes we try to avoid, because we consider that the kids are not ready, but often it's us as an adult, as adults, that are not ready to confront all the questions and to find the right words to explain, in fact, the real life, because this is the real life. Alas, what happened. So at some point we have to explain. And I had this problem also with my kids. They haven't seen the short so far, but I spoke about this to them also. Of course, I use some words so that they feel not like there was no perturbation in their brain. But I think that the 70s, in terms of cinema, were more like were harder for. And I watched some movies when I was young. I did not to watch, but my parents didn't care about that.
Yeah, no, I remember reading Mouse, for instance,
Yes,
as a child, and that opened me up to the education of the Holocaust, and
mm,
I think this has the same exact power in terms of
exactly.
Holocaust studies within
Mm,
middle schools to
mm,
have that conversation. And so, what
yes,
will it mean to?
like Narton Nebel, for instance. I watched Narton Nebel. I was not ready for that.
Mhm.
Mm.
And so, what would it mean to win an Oscar in a time when people are standing up and winning Oscars and saying sometimes honestly anti-Semitic comments? And God willing, you will be on that stage and you can say, "This is the way to go. This is the way of healing and resilience."
It's not me who will speak on stage. It's Florence, and I think that she will be very honest with what she will say. I don't know what she will say, but she will have 1 minute to speak. And regarding the movies she made, I think that she will tell strong words. But for me, it's really important to produce this type of movies, because it's part of memories, it's part of history. And often Florence says that the young audience doesn't know about Holocaust, about Shoah,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
she's really, and I am too disappointed by that, because how you can forget that like 80 years after what happened? It's unbelievable.
Mhm.
So it's important to do this type of movies, and not to do it in a funny way or in a very light way. It needs to be strong. And
Mhm.
we have to show this movie to our kids, and to tell them that life is not easy, and you have to confront yourself to people you don't know, that can be dangerous for you, for your family, that doesn't think the same as you think. And it's important to have some distances sometimes.
And so I always ask our last question about to our athletes, to our producers, to our coaches, to our fans. It's a podcast about the intersection of sports and faith. So I always ask, is there faith in the world of sports? Based on Alfred's story and Butterfly. And also want to say one more thing. The bat mitzvah this past weekend, when I always ask the bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, what are you passionate about? They tell me usually a sport. And this young girl said she's passionate about swimming. I said, why? And she actually told me because she loves to do the butterfly stroke. And I said, "Why do you love the butterfly?" And she said, "Because it takes every ounce of her body to be successful in that." And I had this young girl's words in my mind when I was watching the film just the other day, because Alfred also took every ounce, not just of his body, but also of his heart and soul to create a life so that you and I, are able to speak about it today. So, is there faith in sports according to Ron Dyens and Butterfly?
um, I think that first there are different ways to speak about faith because you see often some sportsmen doing a prayer when, for
Right.
instance, they score or they win, and there is this way of faith. But I think that there is also another way of faith. It's connected with the fact that you almost go outside from your body from your limitations, so your brain also is full of oxygens, and you see the life in a different way, not obligatory the reality, because personally I think that there are different realities. And I think that when you do sport, I was doing sport also, I was running, and when you have to run fast at the end after 5 or 10 kilometers, then after you're almost dead, and you feel very strange things.
Uh-huh.
And these things, even if it's not a competition, because it's important also, it's a third point, the question of competition, I will speak about that. This state of your body change also your perception of what is all around you. And I think that you reach some level that can be combined with a certain idea of faith. The third point is connected with the competition. I think that competition can be good in some ways, but also it can be very bad because uh, sometimes you don't try to go further to yourself, but to try to win against the other,
Hmm.
and to position yourself in a kind of scale face to the other. It can create sometimes some problems. And in fact, I think that the most important is now also to have a connection with the sport, but not to win, but to confront your body also with the others, with your friends, uh, to some limits, because this is interesting, the limits also, because when you reach these limits, you can appreciate also much more your body, you see,
Hmm.
but not always in terms of competition, because there are some people that mix competition and sorry for my English, but killing the others. You understand?
Uh-huh.
Competition in this side is not, in for me, the right way to do sport.
Right. No, I think that's really crucial. It's what you said in the beginning, that competition is actually about cooperation, even though
Yes,
within the swimming pool, with on the court, with on the field, you
yes,
give it your all
exactly.
to beat the other. But at the end of the day, which did not happen for that moment that I mentioned in the movie, shaking hands at the end saying, "Good
This
job.
is really
We can
important.
actually do this
Yes,
together." And so, how do
yes.
people, before the Oscars, how do we watch the film?
You can watch it on YouTube. On, I forgot, it's Jerusalem. I think it's still on. First of all, it's on roadside. It's on theater. You
Beautiful.
can watch it on theater. You can watch it on internet on Staff Peak, and there is a newspaper. I forgot the name because it was a long time ago, but I think it's Jerusalem News or something like that. It is watched. But if you type Butterfly
Right,
Florence
butterfly.
Mihai or Butterfly short animated movie, you will find
You'll
it.
find it. Wonderful. We are
Yes.
truly honored to have you, Ron, joining us from
Thank you
France.
very
We are
much. It was important.
excited. Hopefully, in a couple weeks, you'll be back here in Los Angeles celebrating a very, very important victory for the Oscars and for the betterment of the world based on cooperation and
Yes.
competition and faith
Yes.
in sports. Ron, it's
Yes.
wonderful to have you. Ron Dyens, Oscar nominated winner. Actually, Oscar nominated nominee for Butterfly, previous award winner for Flow. directed by Florence Mailly and produced by Ron Dyens. It's wonderful to have you, and we look forward to seeing you
Thank you.
soon. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Bye bye. Bye.